I'm going to try very hard to do this one the best I can, because I got some critique from a very good friend yesterday, a fella up in Provo, Utah, young fellow by the name of Chad Reynolds. This video is for Chad Reynolds, and we're going to entitle this one Subverted America, the FBI Gone Wild. Now, folks, you got to kind of understand that we have an enormous problem with a giant swamp and an immense deep state that have created a out of control slavery incorporated, the United States government Inc. Now, I know that sounds a bit how could you say it, convoluted, and maybe even some people would refer to it as a conspiracy theory. But what you got to understand is that the current president of the United States and a whole bunch of other people, from George Carlin to Matt Taibbi to Professor William Black to Catherine Austin Fitts, and the list just goes on and on and on and on and on, from Martin Mayer to Stephen Pizzo, even Peter Bruton, and my bestest of old friends, Lucy Proctor. They all know that there's been trillions looted out of the system. Trillions looted out of the system. And even Barack Obama and Joe Biden, Loretta Lynch, John Ashcroft, Alberto Gonzalez, Ed Meese, everybody remembers Ed Meese, and who in the hell could forget William French Smith, or John Ashcroft, or Eric Holder, or Jeff Sessions. Hey, Jeff Sessions. The reality of America is that trillions, Chad Reynolds, have been looted out of the system. And this, folks, is how the deep state and the corruption in the swamp has been financed. Now, you know, if you take a real hard, long, close look and you study very closely the enormity of this story, you quickly begin to realize that the subversion of America and the FBI gone wild. The FBI and the Department of Justice have become this organized crime syndicate engaging in what United States Senator Nunes, N-U-N-E-S, Nunes, has described as a coup d'etat on the U.S. presidency. A coup d'etat. Holy smoke. I've been calling it a financial coup d'etat for about 25 years. And there's a lady out there, Catherine Austin Fitts, and her very good friend, Linda Minor, from the Harris County Attorney's Office, that would quickly agree with Matt Taibbi, Occupy, the Anonymous, and of course, you can just, there's a multitude of people out there, a multitude. There's so many witnesses today, it's absolutely staggering. Stephen Pizzo, Mary Fricker, Peter Bruton, hey Peter Bruton, and even my grand old friend, Kevin Brady. I knew Kevin Brady before he was on the school board in Conroe, Texas. Tell him, Kevin, if you're out there listening, pal, tell him old Judson Witham was down there in front of Alvin Stall, Judge Alvin Stall, and Judge Jimmy C. Edwards III, and Judge Alan Barb Sadler. Old Judson was down there 30 years ago, giving them hell about the looting of the trillions and all that Clintonista, Bill and Hillary Clinton style land swindling, dirt dealing and dirt churning and dirt flipping down there at the White River in Arkansas. Oh, just by the way, at flipping, they were flipping land and flipping Arkansas. How about that, Chad Reynolds? Now, you know, I've been getting a lot of complaints and critique about how confusing and complicated this story is. Well, the way to sum it up is that when you steal trillions upon trillions upon trillions of reserve notes, they're not even dollars, they're reserve notes. You know, they type them into keyboards, and you create this system of slavery in the United States by the give me the power of the issuance of money, and I care not who makes the laws. Everybody knows who quoted that. You've got a system so monstrously bastardized and so monstrously subverted that telling the story in a cohesive, understandable fashion is a monstrous undertaking. It's gargantuan. So Chad Reynolds, it's like knowing every song that there ever was written and being able to play them with proficiency. Now, you see, Chad Reynolds is an incredible guitarist, an extremely exquisite artisan, and one of the hardest working dudes I've ever met in my life. But Chad, I want to tell you something. Trying to understand the massive nature of the subversion of the United States and the world. This goes on from Greece to Iceland to Australia to Spain, Germany, England. This financial swindling of the human species is so absolutely mind-boggling and staggering. It's staggering how immense this crime spree is, that trying to write it down in a, you know, an understandable, coherent fashion is nearly impossible. And this is the kind of stuff that Bill and Hillary Clinton and the Bushes, Big H, Poppy Bush, and old W, and his little sidekick there, Dick Cheney, and James Baker III of Baker and Botts in Houston, Texas. This is what they have relied upon. The absolute obfuscation, the confusing and the distracting and the, you know, you see how my hands are all blurry there, Chad? This is how they have accomplished the robbing of humanity beyond frickin' belief. And then they give you the bill on top of it all. Because you see, folks, all this reserve note shin plaster. Look that one up, Chad Reynolds. Look up shin plaster, Joel Shuker, and all my friends with Stop the Recording Fraud and, you know, MERS fraud and Hocus Pocus MERS and the National Foreclosures Standards Commission and all these groups and all these people on Twitter that are trying to describe for the world the swamp, the cesspool, everything's rigged. Correct, Jeff Sessions? Christopher Wray at FBI knows exactly what I'm talking about. And I've got an old friend down at Woodlands. He's in the Woodlands, Texas. He was a senior United States Secret Service agent. His name is Rick Williams. Today, Mr. Williams is the head of the ConocoPhillips Global Security interests. He runs the security interests of one of the largest oil companies in the world, ConocoPhillips, out of the Woodlands, Texas. Now, he'll probably remember the names of, like, District Attorney Peter Spears and County Attorney Jimmy Dozier. Jim Dozier went on to be a grand poobah in the law enforcement community in the state of Texas. And Jimmy Dozier got his start at the Drug Enforcement Agency. How's that for a memory, Nelda Luce Radabow Blair? Nelda Luce, and the Luce real estate fortune currently is connected with the Jim Blair, Hurd, Goggin, Blair, and Williams tax collecting law firm that are operating just by absolute bloomin' coincidence out of the Western Bank building at 1300 Main Street, right around the corner from Baker and Botts and Vinson and Elkins. He said it, Nelda. Baker and Botts and Vinson and Elkins. And oh, let's not forget Sewell and Riggs. How's that for a memory, Nelda? You see, ladies and gentlemen, this massive real estate-based, real estate title churning, fraud closure, illegal foreclosure, predatory lending, all these mind-boggling, complicated real estate schemes and scams have been purposely designed to be able to obfuscate and hide the pea under the shell. You see how that works? You've seen the old hide the pea under the shell trick, correct, Chad Reynolds? And 3-card monte that, of course, is played with 4 cards. The old magic trick to hide the crime scene and to protect the names of the perpetrators. They go to great lengths to conceal the crimes and to conceal the criminals, the perps. Now, so that I don't confuse everybody and drive everybody crazy, but when you start talking about scientific evidence and you start getting down into the reality of how it is that they have subverted America, how it is they've used massive amounts of stolen loot to sponsor federal judges and to pay the campaign expenses of state judges, state prosecutors, sheriffs, commandants of state police, federal judges, appellate judges, United States Supreme Court judges, presidents, senators, congressmen, state legislators, and all the deep state bureaucrats you can possibly imagine. In other words, folks, the United States Government Incorporated, USA Inc., is, very simply put, a crime syndicate. And you know something, Donald J. Trump? We're talking with Senator Nuns, and we're talking with a huge number of other people that are referring to what the Department of Justice and the Clintons and the Bushes orchestrated for you, Donald Trump, and that was a coup d'etat. Excuse me, folks. The absolute enormity of the setting up of the chessboard and the stacking of the deck so that the perpetrators of the swamp, the deep state, can continue to control the machine. And everybody understands who the man is, and pretty much everybody today has got a pretty damn good idea about what the machine is. The machine is the swamp. And it's an extremely deep rabbit hole. Welcome to the battlefield, Chad Reynolds. Welcome to the war. And I'll tell you something, Chad Reynolds. If there's anybody in the world that I can call friend, that would be you. Because, buddy, I'll tell you what, in Mormon speak, you know, in Happy Valley speak, buddy, you're awesome. How about that, Chad? You get a gold medal and a top shelf rating. You're absolutely, you're a hell of a good guy, Chad. You can Share that with Buffalo Fox. Old Buffalo Fox. He'll agree in a heartbeat that old Chad Reynolds is, you know, a good guy. There's a bunch of them people. The Valorians. I got a pack of friends there in Utah. They're known as the Valorians. Now that's a little bit of a cryptic reference to some of the best musicians on earth. They got good snow. They got good snow in Utah, that's for sure. But some of the musicians that come out of that velour, you know, Imagine Dragons, you know, that's where they got started, I guess, was at the Valorian Club there in Provo, Utah. But Chad, you're correct. It's very hard to make a coherent, simple to understand account of the subversion of the United States with stolen trillions. They have so bastardized this system. I don't know, pick up the phone and call Ammon Bundy. You know, Ammon and Ryan and Cliven and all the other Bundy brothers and all the other Bundy cousins. And, you know, you can call Jana Lee Tobias. Jana Lee Tobias is up there in Salt Lake City. Ask her how corrupt the swamp is. And then, I don't know, Jason Chavez. Yeah, Jason Chavez, you know who he is, Chad. He had his office over there in the Wells Fargo Bank building. Remember, he right across the street from Coleman Art Gallery, right across the street there from the Title Insurance Company, on the corner of the 100 North, the Wells Fargo Bank. Jason Chavez. He knows that, man, this government's off the rails. And there's a whole lot of other people that know that the United States government's been subverted way, 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 way past the Clinton Mafia and the Bush mob and the Cheney Mafia and Joe Biden, and the list just goes on and on and on. Right? Christopher Wray. You know, Chad Reynolds, Christopher Wray is the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And there's a friend of mine over in Missouri, there in Kansas City. His name is Professor William Black. Bill Black knows exactly what I'm talking about here. And so doesn't Linda Miner and Catherine Austin Fitz. And I can sit here and name prestigious authors and prestigious investigative reporters all day long. But I want to refer you finally and lastly to a work that was created by the investigative reporters and editors of the University of Missouri, Kansas City, the IRE. Chad, and it was entitled The Well-Financed Orgy. Now you want to talk about a mind bender. The IRE, Lacey Olson down at the Houston Chronicle, take notes. Lacey Olson, the special Grand Poobah investigative reporter from the Houston Chronicle. Take notes, Lacey Olson. And my old friend, Eric Yallick there at the Golden Hammer in Conroe. Take notes. Everybody take notes. Back in the 1980s, when this guy right here started screaming bloody murder about all those crooked land deals and all those funny mortgages and all those funny deeds of trust that were being collected through the United States postal system, Christopher Wray, they used the United States postal system in connection with all this stuff. Chris Wray, Jeff Sessions, Donald Trump, Mike Pence. Pay attention. The massive robbery that everybody in the world knows about now, this guy right here was bitching about it to Alvin Stahl, Judge Alvin Stahl, and Judge Jimmy C. Edwards III, and good old Barb Sadler, Judge Barb Sadler. And if you have any questions about it, get a hold of Nelda Luce Radabow Blair and ask her, what about all them dirt deals in Texas? All those dirt churning, dirt flipping in Florida and Utah and Hawaii and California and Oregon and Washington. Oh, and up in Idaho. Oh my God. Almond Bundy. Up in Idaho and in Nevada. And the Poconos and Maine and New Hampshire and New York. And Alaska. They do this stuff in Alaska. And hell, you know, Almond Bundy, they're doing this garbage in Greece and Iceland, Australia, England, Spain. Hell, it's even going on in Japan and China. China. They're doing the old land skipping, flipping, dirt churning, dirt flipping, real estate. Rico Realty Shuffle. The Rico Realty Shuffle. So to end this one up, because I'm getting a little long-winded, you got to take a good, hard, long, very close look at all these fake papers and all these robo-signed, forged assignments and all this photoshopped and photo-printed, laser-printed fake paper that Eric Holder and Barack Obama and Eric Schneiderman and Neil Bromsky and Elliot Spitzer accepted a $25 billion settlement on. And then, of course, Timothy Geithner and Alan Greenspan and Hank Snow and Janet Yellen, they bailed out all the world's banks with Timothy Geithner for trillions. Have you ever studied the bailout of AIG, Chad Reynolds, in Europe, and all the European banks that Timothy Geithner and the Federal Reserve bailed out? And all the missing trillions from the Pentagon, and all the missing trillions from the Department of Defense, and all the missing trillions from the Federal Reserve? Now you want to talk about a great big complicated snarled ball of fishing line. Come on, Chad Reynolds, everybody's tried to pick apart a big ball, a snarled, scrambled up fishing line in their life. That's what it's like trying to tell this story, because it's so huge. And folks, I'm gonna wrap this one up. We're gonna call this one America Subverted. The FBI / Department of Justice gone wild. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, hasta la vista, God bless, and you can betcha for certain, for positive, we're coming back. And that's a promise to a little stick of dynamite I know. Now, you thought I was going to leave you out? No way, not you. That little stick of dynamite's something else. Ladies and gentlemen, she's like, wow. But in any event, next time, folks.